The Quran is essentially a religious and ethical document aiming at the practical goal of creating a morally good and just society composed of religiously righteous men and women with a keen and vivid awareness of the one God who enjoins good and forbids evil. Thus, the Quran is a document that is squarely aimed at man, calling itself Hudan lil Nas, or guidance for mankind. Continuing with our series, The World of the Quran, today we will explore man's creation, his role and responsibility as defined by the Quran. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Islam. The reference is made to the story of creation and man's expulsion from heaven in at least 3 places in the Quran.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful.
وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً قَالُوا أَتَجْعَلُ فِيهَا مَن يُفْسِدُ فِيهَا وَيَسْفِكُ الدِّمَاءَ ونحن نسبح بحمدك ونقدس لك قال إني أعلم ما لا تعلمون.
And when thy Lord said unto the angels, Lo, I am about to place a viceroy on the earth, they said, Wilt thou place therein one who will do harm therein and will shed blood? While we hymn thy praise and sanctify thee. He said, Surely I know that which ye know not.
Thus begins the story of man in the Quran. This account of man's creation is worth pondering since it deals not just with the fact of creation, but also sheds light on man's place in the cosmic order, his role, his responsibility, his nature, and finally, his ultimate destination.
From the Quranic perspective, we understand that the heaven and the earth, this universe was created long time before the creation of human being. It seemed that they existed for some time. Again, it's not been described at how long, but they did exist for a long time. There were other creations, other creatures who existed before the arrival of the human beings on the scene, and then after that God created the humans. And the word is used khalifa. When God said, Inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa. In another place it says, Summa ja'alnakum khalaifa. We made you khulafa or khalaif. The word khalifa has been explained in 2 different ways by the commentators. Some commentators say Khalifa means the vicegerent, the deputy, and here it means the deputy of God. The human being is the deputy of God on this earth. God has appointed him as his representative on this earth and gave him the authority over all the other creation, all the other creatures. The other perspective, the other explanation that is given also by Muslim scholars, I would say even the majority of the Muslim scholars, that is that human being is not God's representative, but it is in a sense God has appointed him and gave him the authority, but he came in succession to another creation that existed before. So they say that yes, there were other creatures that existed. Then after that, human beings came, and this is the kind of the final stage where the human beings arrived.
When God intended to create Adam in order to establish a vicegerent on earth, the angels protested, saying, Will you put there a being who will work mischief in the earth and shed blood, while we sing your glories and exalt your utter holiness? God did not deny these allegations against man, but replied, I know what you do not know.
وعلم آدم الأسماء كلها ثم عرضهم على الملائكة فقال أنبئوني بأسماء هؤلاء إن كنتم صادقين.
And he taught Adam all the names, then showed them to the angels, saying, Inform me of the names of these, if ye are truthful.
قالوا سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم.
They said, Be glorified. We have no knowledge saving that which thou hast taught us. Lo, thou, only thou, art the knower, the wise.
The point of these verses is that unlike the angels, man is endowed with the faculty of naming things, that is to say, formulating concepts of them which will enable him to capture or control them. Thus, the character of man's knowledge is conceptual knowledge that is able to approach the observable aspects of reality.
To name things means to understand things, to understand their reality. This knowledge is given to the human being. And this is really what the human knowledge is. Very often we investigate, we search, and then we find and we say that this is called this thing, and we give names to certain things. So this power, this capacity to name, to identify, to analyze, to separate and distinguish, this is given by God to the human being. This is a special knowledge that is given to the human being. Animals do not have that knowledge. Only God, this articulation, the knowledge of the names, on the basis of this, the knowledge increases, because knowledge is cumulative. When the knowledge increases, because one generation learns from the other generation, and the previous generation always identify and writes it down, and the other generation's mind makes some more distinction, makes more analysis. So that's what this whole understanding, that God gave this capacity to the human being. وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا, gave this capacity to the human being. Even the angels did not have that capacity.
God asked all the angels to prostrate themselves before Adam, to honor him. All angels so acknowledged Adam's superiority in knowledge, except Iblis, who asserted his own superiority over Adam and disobeyed God's command. Despite the disobedience, the Quran constantly speaks of Satan not so much as an anti-God principle, but rather as an anti-man force, perpetually trying to seduce man away from his natural spiritual path into deviant behavior.
When God told Adam and Eve not to eat from a certain tree, and the shaitan went and tempted both of them, and again there is a difference here between the Judeo-Christian version of the original sin and the Islamic version. In the Bible, it is the devil tempted Eve, and then Eve tempted Adam, and so Eve carries a larger burden of the responsibility for that. But according to the Quran, he tempted both of them, and they both sinned, and they both repented, and they both were forgiven. Adding to the chagrin of Iblis, who wanted evil to them, and they were forgiven, and according to the Quran, this put an end to the original sin. So therefore, it is not Islamic to say that every human being is born in sin. We are born pure, and later on it is our choices that make us good or bad. Anyhow, the shaitan after that felt very angry about the vindication and the forgiveness of Adam by God. And then Adam was raised to prophethood, and the mission was to begin. God creating a form of life to be his vicegerent on planet Earth. And so Iblis wanted and begged for another chance. This one that you made better than me and asked me to bow for, give me a chance, let me go after them in their new habitat on Earth, and I'll try to tempt them to disobey you. But then God said, you permission granted, but I'll give them guidance, very clear guidance. And whoever follows my guidance will be immune to your plotting. But whosoever forsakes my guidance and follows you, they will be responsible for themselves and they will bear the responsibility. And this is the story as far as it goes. Now, if you ask me, who is Iblis? Where is he? Do we see him every day? Is he in us or around us or outside us, etc.? We don't know, except we know it for its meaning. And we know that circumstances of temptation face us every day, and we are given the guidance of God. And if we stick to the guidance of God, then we are immune. If we choose to forsake God's guidance, then we bear the responsibility.
It is this deep-seated moral fact that constitutes the eternal challenge for man and renders his life an unceasing moral struggle. In this struggle, God is with man, provided man makes the necessary effort. Man is squarely charged with this effort because he is unique in the order of creation, having been endowed with free choice in order to fulfill his mission as God's vicegerent. It is this mission, the attempt to create a moral, social order on earth, which the Quran describes as the trust.
إنا عرضنا الأمانة على السماوات والأرض والجبال فأبين أن يحملنها وأشفقن منها وحملها الإنسان إنه كان ظلوما جهولا.
Lo, we offered the trust unto the heavens and the earth and the hills, but they shrank from bearing it and were afraid of it. And man assumed it. Lo, he hath proved a tyrant and a fool.
ليعذب الله المنافقين والمنافقات والمشركين والمشركات ويتوب الله على المؤمنين والمؤمنات وكان الله غفورا رحيما.
So Allah punisheth hypocritical men and hypocritical women, and idolatrous men and idolatrous women. But Allah pardoneth believing men and believing women, and Allah is forgiving, merciful.
We are actually responsible for the whole planet because it is in our custody, having been given our brains and our abilities. This puts us at the leadership and the custodianship of this planet. And it is not only towards our fellow human beings that we should be nice. If you read the teachings of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, we have to be nice to animals. Even the animals we eat, we have to slaughter them in such a way and feed them and water them before we do. The animals we use, we cannot and should not be cruel to them, and we are told about people who were kind to animals and therefore earned God's forgiveness, and people who are cruel to animals and their lot was hellfire. We are told to clean our environment. We are told that if it is the day of judgment and you are about to plant a vegetation, then hurry up and plant it if you can before the day of judgment comes. So it is respect and love and keeping the beneficial balance of this planet that is in our trust. And this is our mission on earth. It is not a selfish one, it is a total one, because God put us in the position of leadership and the custodianship. We should be aware of such responsibilities.
This trust was presented to the heavens and to the earth and to the mountains. None of them was able to take it. Only human beings were able to assume it. So it's a great trust, and this trust is to live on this earth carry on the will of God on this earth. Only human beings can do that. They can fulfill that, and all the resources are put at human beings' disposal so that they can maintain them, they can use them properly. And so there is this khilafah, there is this amana, and then after that, of course, there is the accountability. So there is the job is given, there is an assignment, and the things are put at their disposal, and now they will be questioned.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful,
والتين والزيتون
by the fig and the olive,
وطور سينين
by Mount Sinai,
وهذا البلد الأمين
and by this land made safe.
لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم
Surely we created man of the best stature.
ثم رددناه أسفل سافلين
Then we reduced him to the lowest of the low.
إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم أجر غير ممنون
Save those who believe and do good works, and theirs is a reward unfailing.
فما يكذبك بعد بالدين
So who henceforth will give the lie to thee about the judgment?
أليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين
Is not Allah the most conclusive of all judges?
The Quran expresses the idea that man is originally good and pure. But it goes on to state that disbelief in God and lack of good actions may destroy his original perfection. On the other hand, man may retain or regain that original individual perfection if he consciously realizes God's oneness and submits to his laws. Thus, according to the Quranic teaching, evil is neither essential or even original. It is an acquisition of man's conscious life. It is due to a misuse of the innate positive qualities with which God endows every human being. These qualities are different in every individual, but always potentially perfect in themselves. And their full development is possible within the period of man's individual life here on earth.
Man has both possibilities. There is no stigma attached to the human being. It's like a clean mirror, clean glass. Now you can make it whatever you want. You can make it dirty, you can put something good into it. And that's what the human possibility is. وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. The Quran says, and the soul, and God has created it and gave it both possibilities, the righteousness as well as the evil. Good are those who improve their soul, who make it better. They are the ones who are successful. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. Successful are those who make their soul to improve, to grow, to become better, while the losers are those who destroy all these possibilities.
In fact, the Quran says God made man his vicegerent, his Khalifa, his assistant on earth, to carry out his tasks on earth, and provided him with all the means. External means, but basically this means, this reason. Now, reason alone, of course, would not be anything complete unless we add the sense of responsibility to it. So a sense of responsibility flows from this faculty of reason. A donkey is not a responsible being. A monkey is not a responsible being. Man is a responsible being. It is because of the responsibility and capacity for knowledge of man that man can develop. And that is what the Quran wants him to do. Now, he can develop if he uses his reason and his sense of responsibility in their proper places. The Quran, while it is very emphatic that God gave man reason, he has unlimited capacity to create knowledge, his sense of responsibility fails, unfortunately. That he hasn't developed yet. You see, towards the end of Surah 33, Surah Al-Ahzab, there is a verse where the Quran says God entrusted this trust or presented this trust, which means the trust of responsibility, to the heavens and the earth and the mountains, and everyone was afraid of it and would not have it. But man came forth and undertook it. But man hasn't discharged it yet. So, whereas knowledge capacity of man is tremendous, it is his moral capacities that are still limited and fail. That is why you see the humanity is still, despite United Nations, it's a human jungle. The physical universe has become a cosmos, but the human universe still remains a chaos because of the moral failure of man.